This July has a lot of retrogrades and planets changing signs, so it's a good time to look inward, reevaluate, and slow down. It's not a bad month at all. It's just an internal quiet month. Well, maybe not quiet, but a good time for reflection rather than forcing things. So if you're excited to dive into what exactly we can expect this July from the astrology, make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you are always up to date with what the stars have in store for you. Hi, I'm Maren. If you're new here, I make videos on astrology, and if you want a reading from me, you can find a link to that down below. I also make music and do other stuff, so yeah, you can find everything you want in the description. So we're starting off this month with the first half, basically from the 1st to the 17th. Saturn is going to be tightly conjunct Neptune in Aries. So they're both in Aries this entire time, but that's the most specific conjunction time is the 1st to the 17th. I have a whole video on Saturn and Neptune in Aries, which is explaining this energy, but long story short, it shows maturity and refinement in our personal actions because we're empowered by a belief in an ethical or spiritual framework that is helping us have more maturity with how we act. So the first half of this month or so really could symbolize getting your impulses and your actions under control because of wanting to feel more secure in your ethics and your beliefs around what feels like the right decision to you and controlling your behavior around that. Also from the 1st to the 4th, Venus is going to be conjunct Uranus in Taurus. So Venus is at home in Taurus, showing there's more ease, more love, and more harmony easily accessible to us, specifically in worldly or kind of like luxurious things in our life. Uranus is the planet of chaos and unrest and shaking things up. So Venus conjunct Uranus shows unexpected or out of nowhere random relationship, money, value related events. This could show things like surprises in your relationship, you feeling very weird and doing something out of character, but not necessarily bad. It could show sudden money coming your way. It could also show sudden news about something that is net positive, but rather shocking. So shocking, but related to something good is kind of the energy here where I don't want to say it's inherently good, but you are not expecting something that ends up being a nice surprise and something that you are ultimately comfortable with given that this is in Taurus. On the 4th, after that, Venus is going to enter Gemini. So with Venus entering Gemini, the rest of this July has a more mental, social, cerebral way of valuing things in our life. It could feel that instead of valuing food and being on the couch and nice clothes, we're valuing stimulating conversations and wanting to speak about high-level intelligent things with others. It's still not necessarily the most social month, but it does show that being smart is what feels good for the rest of this month, in large part. On the 4th, Neptune is going to station retrograde in Aries. So with Neptune stationing retrograde in Aries, this could show that you're rethinking what the belief system or spiritual motivation is that is driving you towards changing your behavior. So if there's an ethical framework or a belief that you kind of want to live your life by, this could be a time of starting to reconsider both your following of that and the way that it's enforced in your life. So it's not showing that you like go back on that or anything, but just reconsider it. From the 6th to the 8th, Venus in Gemini is going to trine Pluto in Aquarius. So the 6th to the 8th is a really good time for intensity and depth in relationships. It's a good time to have discussions that could feel a little bit too far beneath the surface that for usual. It could also be a good time to do anything really romantic or particularly meaningful with your partner. So that's a nice transit there. Then on July 7th, pretty much the biggest transit of this July begins, which is Uranus entering Gemini. So I will have a whole video up about this around the time that this starts, but Uranus being the planet of unrest, of rebellion, of non-linear progress, and of sudden breakthroughs, entering Gemini shows a period of data-related, tech-related, and social communication-related innovation and breakthroughs and breakdowns. So I'll have a full video on this explaining, but look to the Gemini house in your chart for where you're going to be getting a surge of improved, innovative, excitingly scary new kind of energy. And this shows for the collective probably a really, really demonstrative world event on the up-leveling of tech, new innovations, or new ways of social connection this July that will probably be the topic of immense discussion. On the 10th, there is then a full moon in Capricorn. This is a pretty chill full moon. It's not really close to a square to Saturn or Neptune in Aries. So with Capricorn being a sign often of deliberate hard work or meaningful things to show for your work, this could be a time of just putting something that you've worked on out into the world or celebrating how far you've come. It's a pretty normal. I mean, Capricorn moon is already in its fall, so it's not that exciting or happy, but it shows an ending or putting something out to the world. I wouldn't be too worried about this full moon. It's a good time for releasing things that you've worked hard on. On the 13th, Saturn is going to station retrograde in Aries. So with Saturn stationing retrograde, you're rethinking how hard you have been on yourself and your own actions or the limitations you've placed upon yourself. With Saturn and Neptune retrograde, huge internal deliberation time for what your mode of being or your actions need to be defined by, and what is a sustainable way of living your life where you're both mature and not killing yourself, basically. So big internal shift as we get into the middle of the month. On the 18th, Mercury is going to station retrograde in Leo. So Mercury retrograde on top of that shows looking inward for communication and resolving things internally that you may have been deliberating on a day-to-day basis. Can show slowing down or needing to redo things with communication and work. Can also show travel delays. So overall, this is a big slow down, rethink your actions month, because Saturn, Neptune, Mercury retrograde, that's not really the most emotional planets whatsoever. That's more going to be logic, thinking, and planning, rethinking that and how you show up in your life with those decisions. On the 21st to the 24th, Venus in Gemini is going to square Mars in Virgo. 21st to 24th with Venus and Mars square can be a really flirty transit of like chasing or being kind of fiery in your relationships. It can also show flat out fighting and really being on each other's nerves. So definitely tensions are high for better or for worse with that transit. Not my favorite, but it can show a little bit fun in relationships, but also like not getting along with your roommates kind of thing. Then on the 24th, there is a new moon in Leo. This new moon is very close to Mercury retrograde. So there's a new beginning of something you're proud of, you're excited about. Leo's all about the drama and the color and the expression. So there's something that you're excited about or proud of that you're starting in the world, that you are beginning to manifest or work on, but this will have delays or misunderstandings since it's conjunct Mercury retrograde. So whatever you're doing, just be aware that it's probably not going to be what the final result is, but that doesn't mean that you can't be proud of it and still invested in it. Then on the 25th, the sun in Leo, now in Leo season. So a little bit more drama and color, but still a quieter Leo season than usual. The Leo sun's going to be opposite Pluto in Aquarius. So around the 25th, even the new moon, the 24th, 25th, this new moon energy and the beginning of Leo season is going to have the consideration of if you're being manipulated, forced, or pressured into your actions. The sun in Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius is very like, do I want to do this or am I performing because they want me to do this? So there's the question of being performative versus authentic, and if one feels more comfortable than the other in this new moon. On the 31st, the sun is going to conjoin Mercury in Leo. So the sun-Mercury cazimi brings a realization of knowledge or insight into some key point of knowledge or data that you're having. So with it in Leo, you could have clarity around what makes you proud and clarity around what you will be proud to show for yourself near the end of the month around what you're starting and working on. Also on the 31st, Venus is going to enter Cancer, which shows a lot more wholesome, introverted, valuable energy as we head into August, with our values being more focused on nostalgia and safety rather than mental stimulation. So if you have any thoughts already about this July, do let me know in a comment down below. I'm curious how you're thinking and feeling about this and how you are getting prepared to show up here. So now let's pull a tarot card to see what exactly the collective energy we should be prepared for in July. I have the 10 of Wands reversed. So 10 of Wands reversed usually shows struggling over a lack of boundaries or not being sure what to commit to. So this really does encapsulate this month with Saturn, Neptune, and Mercury retrograde. You're like, what do I commit to? What are my personal boundaries? And what do I want to enforce in my life? So this is best as a reconsideration month. And whatever you're working on, be flexible about it because it might be something that really has to pivot and change. So again, not a bad month, just a month that's better for internal reflection and consideration. But yeah, it's not one that I dislike at all. I think it has some cute moments. So I wish you well. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Take care.